All right, there's Stitch Pink 2020 Block 16. You're over halfway done now if you have this one done. And there it is, or once you have this one done. And it is Just Call Me a Diva. Pretty.
Thanks for joining us for Block 16 of Moda's Stitch Pink 2020. I don't know if they're going to do this every year, but so if you've finished all 15, the first 15 blocks, you are halfway finished. So I've got ours sewn together.
Oh, those are so pretty.
They really are, aren't they? I love the colors together. If you're putting it together just the way they say to do it, you're just, after you do 5, you're going to sew them together. So every 5 will be another row. If you're putting a sashing in between them, you can still sew them together after every 5, however you want to finish it.
This is going to be a nice size quilt.
It is going to be a nice size quilt. Very, very nice. There's a 2.5-inch border on the outside of that.
Okay.
So other than that,
I also liked your extra instructions on block 14 because
yeah, that was a tough one.
Was a tough one, and you came up with a different way of putting it together, and I think that worked very well.
Right. So if you haven't done that one yet, check out the block 14 tutorial and see the other alternate ways that I gave to do that. So I did mine using half square triangles on block 14. You can also make flying geese. There are lots of different ways to make flying geese. On my tutorial, I gave the instructions on how to cut them to do 2 different ways of doing that, but there are multiple ways to do it, so you can choose your own way.
I'm back here nodding, so I hope that I'm not moving the camera as I nod.
And I know that was 2 days ago, but you know, it was a tough one. So, all right, we're ready for block 16. Just Call Me a Diva is the name of the block, and a little bit of something new that we haven't done yet, but I'm going to show you an easy way to do it. I'm going to be using the folded corner clipper. I know we've used that before. So the first unit we're going to make for this block is a 1/4 square triangle unit or an hourglass unit. So the first thing we need to do is put these together, and we're going to make 4 of these. So we've done this before. We're going to sew these 2 together. We're going to sew these 2 together. When we have those sewn together, we're going to put them together into 1 unit. And I'll go sew mine. I'll be right back to show you the next step.
Okay, and I'm going to do a little plug for the folded corner clipper ruler. If you can't find it anywhere else, give us a call, Rocking Chair Quilts, 660-200-2226. Because we have them.
We carry them all the time.
They're Debbie's favorite. All right, now she's going to go sew.
Okay, I've got my 1/4 square triangle units made, or my hourglass units made.
And how many did you have to make?
I had to make 4.
Okay.
Next thing we want to do is do the folded corners with part B on the C rectangles. So you're going to be making 2 different directions for these. So you want to make 4 with the red going one way, 4 with the red going the other way. And I'm going to show you an easy way to do it with the folded corner clipper. And this is how I like to do it. So I would lay this out exactly the way it looks with it folded over. So the first time, wherever the red is, that's where it's going to get folded over. If you're using the folded corner clipper, that's the corner you're going to cut off. And so I'm going to put an X on the corner that I want to cut off. And then I'm going to turn it to where it's easier for me to cut it. And right now, the
way it is easy.
The way it is because it's upside down on here. But if I had this right side to me, it would be down here in this corner.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would flip it around where my folded corner clipper is straight up and down, and the X is what I'm going to cut off. So whenever you sew that and flip it out, it's going to look like that.
Ta-da!
And so I have some of those made already. But if
I'm going to line those up right here by that side.
You're going to line them up just like that.
Ta-da.
And then you do the same thing to the other side. Right sides together always. And now I want this corner cut off. So I'm going to put an X on there. And then I'm going to turn that where it's in the top right hand corner to me, because that's the corner that I cut off with my folded corner clipper. I want to make sure those are lined up nicely. Okay. And then after you do that, and you flip them out, they're going to look like
Nope,
this.
you have to, there you go.
Sorry.
Ta-da!
Now they look just like that. So you don't want to do them, you don't want to do all 8 of them the same direction, because they need to be in 2 different directions.
And no matter how you turn this one, it's never going to look like this one.
So you're going to take those units, and we're going to kind of skip ahead here a little bit, because the next thing it has you do is the folded corners on the
big square.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you what you do with the hourglass units that we just made, and these units that you will just make. We're going to put them, oh, I'm going to look at this. We're going to put them together like that. So we're going to make 4 units like that.
Okay.
So, yes, I've got the hourglass going the right way. So you're just going to sew these 3 together, and you're going to do that 4 times.
All right, so it doesn't matter which side of the center that falls on, they all get sewn together
No matter
the same
which,
way.
so right now we're doing the one that looks like this one on top.
Mm-hmm.
You see the corners there?
Yep.
But if I turn this around, it looks exactly the same.
Okay.
So we're just making 4 units like that, but we're going to turn them differently when we sew them together.
Okay, sounds good.
The next thing we want to do after that is do your folded corners on the corner of your big square.
What letter was that one?
That was F, and you're going to use your G squares. So you put them right side together. Same thing, you're just going to do it on every corner. I'm going to line that up.
That one almost doesn't look right side.
If you want, I know it's hard to tell.
On those whites, it is.
It is.
Yep, you had it right.
If you do not have a folded corner clipper, what you would do here is draw your diagonal lines, sew on the line, trim off 1/4 of an inch, flip it out. This is just faster because I go ahead and take care of that. All I have to do is sew my 1/4 inch and put a new blade in my cutter. Okay, so I'm going to do that on every square, but I'm going to turn that every time.
On every corner?
On every corner. So after you get the hourglass units made, well, after you get the little rectangles made,
Go ahead and do this to that center.
yes. After you get those rectangles made with the squares on the corners like I just showed you, you're going to sew those to the 1/4 square triangle or the hourglass units. You're going to do this, and then you'll be ready to put your block together.
Okay.
See, I moved that off there. Normally I do this right next to my machine so I don't have to move it.
Yeah, because then it's just ready to sew.
Right, then it's just ready to sew. And I would probably do one at a time instead of doing all 4 at once. Or I can pin those on. They'll be ready to sew. So I'll get these put together, and then I'll come back and show you how you put the whole thing together.
Okay, looks interesting.
Okay, I have my units together, but I want to show you in the layout, they have you laying all those little pieces out separately and then just sewing them into a row. You can do that if you want. I just thought it was a little bit easier to just go ahead and then get those units made. And of course, it's your block. You can do it any way you want. But now, when you lay them out,
pretty.
You've just got it. You make another big 9 patch. So there you go.
Okay.
Makes it a little bit quicker to sew them together if you have those units already sewn.
So show me how you'll sew this together.
Okay, so I'm going to sew this row together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sew this row together. I'm going to sew that row together. Then I'm going to sew the 3 rows together.
Okay, perfect.
All right.